Hello, my friend. It is so good to share this energetic space with you today, because you will be consuming it in your own time, and I will not have the opportunity to meet each and every single one of you. So I want to thank you in advance, to gracing me with your time and your energy, to hear me or watch me speak today on something that has touched my soul and my spirit the last couple of days. And that is this need that we have to comment on anything and everything. It is a trend that I see in the world, particularly amongst social media, and it is a trend that I have been sort of going against myself. If you don't know, my work has really been around change. I've spent a lot of my time doing inclusion work, which is at the heart about human rights and social justice. And that is one of the hardest pieces of change work that we could possibly do, changing people's hearts and minds, changing the way the system works, institutions, structural discrimination as well. It's one of the hardest pieces of change that we can do. It took hundreds of years to create these systems and these beliefs and these values and these ways of operating. And therefore, it is taking many years to overcome this. And it's a very sensitive topic to us, which is why it's so difficult for us to see this as a problem and to change. And so, with this work, there is a lot of what we call desktop activism. There are a lot of people online commenting about things that are unjust in the world and harmful in the world, as well as people that are advocating for their own beliefs and views and egos that these things actually don't exist. And so there's desktop activism, if you what you want to perceive it, if you would like to perceive it in this way, in terms of what we might call, and I have air quotation marks if you're listening to this, as to the left and the right. What I have been working on is actually being very conscious and very aware about what am I feeding my time and my energy to, because what you feed your time and energy to is what fuels it. People do feel the need to comment. I'm not a guru. I'm not a psychic. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm an imperfect, flawed human being living in a very, very imperfect world. I do get it wrong and I do say things wrong. And I do behave in ways that also, are imperfect. I totally acknowledge that. And so people do feel the need to comment on things, and including the people that are like, biologically closest to me, feel the need to comment on everything that I say and that I do, much to my great irritation and annoyance. And so I'm very aware of that, perception is projection. So if I'm irritated by that in my world, like how am I behaving in that way towards others? So you can read if you subscribe to my newsletter, which is completely free. Completely free. I hope it's value adding. Really, it's my musings, things that are put into my heart and my mind that I feel is needed to be shared with others, that I share with others through the newsletter. That's what I generally share. So if you would like to subscribe to these musings, you're more than welcome to. You can unsubscribe at any point. This week's newsletter, I have put this in here. And so I've given you a couple of thoughts around whether you would like to comment on things or not. A lot of the comments tend to be outrage, and it can often be disguised as constructive feedback, or I'm here to educate you and educate the public, or critical discourse. So we need to be very aware about posts or comments on posts that are disguised as education, constructive feedback, or adding value to critical discourse. And I put all that in air quotation marks, that are really disguised as outrage, which is all about the ego. I also want to make the distinction here that there's a difference between polarizing content, so content that has a very clear opinion and view, and content that is actually harmful. And what is deemed to be harmful is going to differ for all of us based on a whole range of different factors. So I want to make that very clear. I do want to make a note that if you do feel triggered by a post, that is usually the body telling you that there's an area that you need healing with. And that's what I've realized in myself. Doesn't make that post okay. And I think if you've done a lot of, well, not that I think, I know that if you've done a lot of healing work within yourself, you have that perspective of they are spiritually unwell people, and actually the phrase that I use is shame on them, not shame on me. So I don't feel as triggered by those posts as I continue on that healing work myself. So if you do feel triggered, my recommendation is that you pause in order to tend to your wounds first, and that you actually speak from the context. So in training and education, what we say, particularly around work that is social justice centers and human rights, because that stems from lived experience. We encourage people, the saying and the phrase, and I don't know who this is attributed to, but the phrase is to speak and teach from your scars and not from your wounds, because if you speak from your wounds and teach from your wounds, you trigger yourself and you risk triggering other people as well. And I've seen that play out on social media as well. The other perspective that I put here in my newsletter is that other people's opinions are actually none of our business. So unless it is harmful content, other people's opinions are none of our business. And that is something that I found very helpful to myself in terms of helping me stay focused on my purpose and my mission in life and not being distracted by the millions of opinions that are out there in the world. The other irony is that when we post comments is that we often judge others for judging. Some most likely are. So we get, when people post a comment, we get outraged because often that comes from lived experience. My brother is not like that. My husband is not like that. My father is not like that. Not all men are like that. Not all men are like that. You know? Again, coming from wounds, not creating a space for other people's views, coming from a place of ego. And the irony is that we judge others for judging there. So my encouragement is to seek to understand first rather than reacting, because I believe that the world doesn't need more shame. What it needs is more compassion. So before you flaunt your opinions and your beliefs, particularly on social media, like a pair of dirty undies, I encourage you to reflect and ask yourself, and I actually didn't put this in the newsletter, so if you're listening or watching this, bonus for you, is would you say this to that person's face? Would you say that to that person's face? And my sense is that if you wouldn't, that's probably your ego speaking because you're hiding behind a computer screen. Real courage and service to others is actually saying things to people's face to face in real life, making eye contact. And I think we absolutely need all types of activism, particularly when it comes to social rights. And I just mixed that word around. Human rights and social justice, we need all types of activism, but the most powerful activism is done human being to human being, in parliament, on the streets, interacting with each other face to face, in each other's physical presence. So I encourage you to before you flaunt your opinions around like a pair of undies, ask yourself, am I judging others for judging me? Am I getting triggered? And is this truly adding value and service to others, or is it feeding my own personal agenda and ego? Much love to you. You have your agency and sovereignty. This information's not got to be contextual to you all. So before you flaunt your opinions around like a pair of dirty undies, ask, is it in service? That said, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to be of service to you. If you'd like to run any programs or you'd like as a keynote speaker for International Women's Day, I am here to help and here to serve. Much love to you.